At Sleep Outfitters Outlet, great sleep is a big deal. Save 40 to 60% every day on every Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. Queens as low as $249. Customer exchanges, closeouts, and floor samples. Inventory changes daily, so come in for your dream deal today. With no credit needed financing, expert advice, and up to 60% off retail, it's never been easier to get the sleep and savings you deserve. Go to sleepoutfittersoutlet.com for financing details and to find a store near you.
When it comes to transportation for your business, low-quality suppliers can leave you disappointed. Here at LCG Logistics, we can service all of your logistics needs. Servicing 48 states and Canada, at LCG Logistics, we pride ourselves on competitive prices, dedicated fleet service, and on-time delivery. We are small enough to care and large enough to do the job properly. Call us at 614-272-4052. LCG Logistics, your single-source transportation supplier.
What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And I know that you are here to listen to the best humans on the planet to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. Let's do this. I am so stoked that you're here. You guys are such an amazing group of people. I love straight talkers, and you guys know that you guys are always connecting and telling me how much you love my guests. So I found another amazing gem for you guys. His name is Parker Harris, and by the time he was 17 years old, he had already started his first company and was also recruited by the President of the United States to speak at leadership conferences across the country. And at age 20, he almost died in a car accident. So I do want to talk about that, because today he leads Junta Global, which has served thousands of entrepreneurs to connect with like-minded peers and build the relationships, health, and business they deeply desire. I know a lot of you are CEOs and entrepreneurs and leaders and all that. So I know this conversation is going to be fun. So welcome. I know it says Zachary Parker Harris on his name there. So just so you know, it is Zachary Parker Harris, but he goes by Parker. So how are you, Parker? How are you doing?
I am living my best life, Neena.
Oh, I can't hear you. There you go. Okay. Say that again.
I am living my best life, Neena.
I'm so jealous right now. Okay. So tell us about your best life. Who is Parker and how are you living your best life?
Yeah, well, currently my wife and I are traveling the world looking for home together and getting to know each other. We got married late last year after being together for 9 years. So I think at the end of the day, who I am is someone that really values exploration and adventures. My favorite quote is, "Life is not a problem to be solved, but an adventure to be lived." And so I'm embracing that adventure.
I love it.
And I also consider myself a lifelong learner, a student of life. And I'm really passionate around holistic success. So not just financial success, but also success in health and relationships and fun and impact. And for me, that's really led to a personal development journey that I'm continuing to learn to think accurately about and build awareness of who I am and the conversation I'm having with myself, so I can be better for others.
That's so good, right? Because I think one of the big challenges, I think, for CEOs, especially that are leading these big companies, right, and their top 1% of their earning capacity and all that kind of stuff, is they at times do not know how to separate that, right? How to separate that work life and their actual life, and how they can actually meld those two together. Right, Parker? Because a lot of times we're challenged with that, right? We work ourselves almost to death, right? And so we forget about our personal development. We forget about exploration and travel and curiosity and all those great things that really bring adventure to life. And I know that for me, I've got myself almost to the point of illness, right? Because I, just striving to get up that corporate ladder and becoming a director and, all that kind of stuff, right? So just climb to the point of an autoimmune condition. So, and this is, and I'm not the only one. It's like the more people I speak to. Oh, your mother. Yes. Tell me about that.
My mom has rheumatoid arthritis, which is a terrible autoimmune disease from just working very, very hard and also working to be a great mother and forgetting about herself.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And I was listening to someone today. He's a scientist. Bruce Lipton, and he was talking about how people don't care about themselves the way they should. And he said, "I bet you people will feed their dogs better than they do themselves, or treat their animals better than they do themselves." And I'm like, wow, like that was like a boop eye opener, because it's true. My dogs, I cook their food. You know what I mean? Like I literally make their food. I make sure that it's all natural. There's no additives or ingredients, right? Yet I'm struggling with an autoimmune condition because I didn't take care of myself. So, I love that you're taking a holistic approach. And I think that for those who are listening that are really struggling right now with that, it's okay to take a holistic approach, and it's okay to look at your life and say, okay, where do I want to give and take here? I don't want to like work 50, 60 years and then die because I got illness from working. And this happens, right? Parker, I'm sure you've seen this a lot, and you've had your own business since you were 17. So how did you change that trajectory for you?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there, Neena. I'm just taking some notes over here. One thing I've seen as a pattern with entrepreneurs and high achievers is that often the thing that makes them great in business or at making money is counterproductive in their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can sometimes be a hole that opens up for entrepreneurs, is like, really, who is that, that lifelong partner or that significant other that really like lights them up, and that there's a really healthy and solid relationship there. And I think that's one of the things that we have to dissect and work on in our mastermind sometimes, is like, is it a business issue or is this a personal issue? And so that's something that I've seen. And where I'm at, like there's a book called Principles that a gentleman named Ray Dalio, published, and it was widely praised. And I think one of the challenges in life and in business and in personal development is sometimes principles can be contradictory. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's almost paradoxical. Actually, it is by definition paradoxical, and learning to see both sides of when does this principle work and when does it not work, and being able to stand in that paradox to see both sides of that situation is one of the things I think leaders are called to do, and to communicate for others, so we're not judging one side versus the other.
Right.
And I think there's something beautiful in people's desire to, treat their animals really well and to treat other people really well. It's that servant's heart.
Right.
And I think there's also sometimes that paradox of, selfishness in a way that's like, hey, let's filling our own cup before we attempt to fill other people's cups. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So one of the lessons that's continuing to come up for me at this point in my journey is this idea that like fast is actually slow. And when we slow down, we move smoother, and smooth is fast.
That's so good. That's so good. So, let me ask you, let me take it back a little bit, if you don't mind. When I was reading your bio, I realized that you did go through a tragedy in your life, right? So you're 20 years old and you got into, are you okay with talking about it, by the way?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're 20 years old and you got into a car accident. Do you think, well, I'd like to hear the story, but I also want to know, do you think that that's what gave you perspective, or did that come later in life?
I think I was always like called a wise soul when I met like older people when I was younger. I was an only child, so I spent a lot more time around adults than I did children. But I yearned for, friendship and to be accepted by, peers and people my age. And so at a pretty young age, I had experienced some success where I started a company. I was on different board of directors for nonprofits, and I started getting paid by a nonprofit that the president started to speak at leadership conferences. So but at the same, it was great to like find my voice. Mm-hmm. But I also felt very alone. And from a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, connection is a more basic need than success and self-actualization. Right. And so I really I look back and I think I sold out. I gave up a lot of opportunities and my voice just to be accepted by peers or friends. which led me to partying and just living a fast lifestyle and
Makes
surrounding.
sense.
It's something it took me a while to accept and to move past, because I felt like those mistakes cost me my future.
Wow.
And then a mentor challenged me and was like, those experiences actually qualify you for leadership. And at a certain point, I got in a car accident because, and I'm so not proud to say this, but because I was drinking and other things, and I almost died. And I'm so grateful that I didn't hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
It easily could have. And I woke up in the hospital, chained to the bed, handcuffed to the bed. And I had like, it was kind of a very powerful experience where I realized I had surrounded myself with a bunch of people that really didn't care about me and were taking advantage of me, and that I had to make a change. And I kind of looked it right in the face and told my family, and then went to those people almost one by one. And I was like, hey, this is where we're at. This is where I'm going. And, you're not making this journey with me. And the way that I articulate it now is I walked those people out of my life and started fresh. And it was very lonely for, over a year. And I'd rededicated myself to excellence and to school and to actually doing the work. And sorry, I want to touch on this point. It made me very careful on who I let into my life after that point, and to curate that inner circle very closely. And that actually became the biggest gift in my life. And the foundation for the business that I now lead was surrounding myself with really quality people.
Wow. That's so powerful. You said so many amazing things there, right? Because I have realized as well that personal development of your life. I mean, yes, because as you walk forward and they can't keep up, sometimes they drop off, right? So that's powerful, though, to go to each one individually and say, I am making an intentional decision, right, for my personal development, which is huge. And a lot of people don't do that, right? And so they'll be stuck in this pattern where they're friends with somebody they've been friends with for 30 years who has done nothing but keep them kind of pulled down. At least I've met people that way, right? I personally don't have that, because I have friends that I've had for 30 years, but they've all developed so much even in their lives that it's natural. It's a natural friendship that continued through our personal development, right? So
growing
that's
together.
Yeah, exactly. So is this what then had you go into starting a mastermind? Just intentionally saying, I want to surround myself with people that are going to be productive for where I want to go in life. Is that what this came about?
Well, before we go there, just one thing you said there is, what was really interesting to me is, even though those conversations happened and I did walk those people out of my life, some of those people, a very few of them actually, but some of those people re-entered my life in the future when they were ready to take that journey. And so I don't think it needs to be like a one direction.
Right.
It's part of leadership, right? Is sometimes we start by leading ourselves, or for me, I start by leading myself. And then some people have their own timeline and their own journey. And that's part of the hero's journey, right? Is we have to enter the forest at our own points. And it doesn't mean that they need to be out of our life forever. And so I'm grateful that some of those people, started to change their life, and then we, re-entered my life in a different way.
Was that a natural thing? Did that happen naturally for you? Were you a little hesitant, or was it more like, I see the growth and therefore, because you sound to me like you're very intentional. And so I'm just wondering, I'm just wondering how that cultivated, that re-entering.
It was them reaching back out to me and
Okay.
sharing, an update of changes that they're making. And, I'm still hesitant. I still,
Right.
I don't forget, the past, and there's a forgiveness, but I don't think that the relationship will ever be the way that it was. And it's probably best for both of
I was
us.
going to say that. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
It's so good. So good. So tell me about what you're doing now, right? Because I know that uh you talked about how you are intentional about surrounding yourself with the people you want to surround yourself with for your business, for your success, right? So is that how mastermind started? And if you don't mind, for those who have not been a part of a mastermind, like what is a mastermind? Why does someone want to look into something like that?
yeah, there's a few questions there. And
Yeah.
um, the punchline with a mastermind is that it's two or more minds coming together in the spirit of harmony to accomplish a common goal. So, I have a mastermind with my wife. We're two
Right.
minds that have come together in the spirit of harmony to accomplish common goals. I wish I could say that I had this idea of doing this mastermind, but it didn't start that way. For me, where it started was really refocusing on the things that were important to me, and that was personal and professional development and achieving a level of success that I wasn't born into. And so I started organizing and taking on leadership roles in different groups to organize speaker events. So I would bring in an entrepreneur or an executive or an investor, and I was in college at the time, so to speak to students, and that created a lot of opportunities for me. And at that point I could see like 90% of people. This was 2010, so it was right after the great financial crisis or whatever they call that thing, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities. But I noticed that 10% of people had all the opportunities, and 90% of people didn't have any opportunities. And so that was kind of an interesting thing. And then those 10% of people, I started to organize for more speaker events outside of the context of college. And so it was a group of people that were like not lost. They really like had a focus, had a certain level of success, but were continuing to want to grow and develop. And bringing people together. There's like an opt-in, right? Where it's like, hey, would you rather go drink or like go party, or would you rather show up to this event that you don't have to show up to learn and meet other people? And so there's kind of some self-policing that just creates.
Hey there, my amazing community of straight talkers. I just wanted to give a quick announcement because I wanted to introduce you to a transformative life coaching program that I have made exclusively for women. I want them to break free from shame and embrace their true potential so that they can build that life and business that they have always wanted. Now, our transformational coaching will guide you. We will help you. We will uncover your passion, your goals, and will develop your roadmap to success. Visit me at neenaperez.com and you can join an amazing community of women that are on the same trajectory as you, because I want you to create that life and business you deserve and transcend that shame and unwanted behaviors. So don't wait any longer. Visit neenaperez.com and let's embark on this journey together. Now back to the show.
Creates. And after organizing a few dozen of those events and learning a lot, I kind of saw the patterns of success. And at the same time, there was just so much good content on YouTube and on the internet where I'm like, I started getting more value from the peer-to-peer conversations. And not to go too deep into it, it was like, hey, like we're all busy. We're working hard. We're putting in more time than we need to put in. We're also trying to work out and date and go grocery shopping and clean. And we don't really have a lot of extra time. So what are you doing that's working for you? What are you struggling with that I can
like
support
that.
you? And those are just very it was like pinpoint conversations that created a lot of value versus hearing a story of what worked 30 years ago before the internet. And I think it's important to learn from people that have been successful, but sometimes I try to tell college students, like, just get off your phone and look up around you, because the person that can help you most is sitting right next to you.
Yep.
So I started reading Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, and he created something called Junto for himself in his early 20s. And he acknowledges what an impact that it had on him. And I was inspired by that idea and invited the people that were attending those speaker events to that format. And it created a lot of value for the people that attended.
That's good.
And we just kept doing it. And over time, I was like, this is what I want to do.
That's so good. So, okay. So with all of the stuff happening out there, right? So there's social media is everywhere, right? Media is everywhere. Like everything's coming at you. So as an entrepreneur and as these, those of you who are listening, because I'm sure your ears are like, wait a minute, let's listen up here. So Parker, how do they know how to find a good mastermind or be a part of one if there's so much freaking noise? Because let's be real, there's just too much noise, right? There's so many people coming at you with so many different offers and ideas and all these, all these cold calls and reaching out. I get thousands of them a week. It's a lot, right? So how do you find that network? Like, do you have a strategy as to how you find that group you want to be a part of, that mastermind you should be a part of, that is not just noise or a waste of time? I know a lot of these masterminds you pay to be in because there's people there who are very successful and they're not there to play games. They're there to bring their minds together, right? To solve a problem or have a solution or have an idea or create a product, right? So how do we find that? I mean, there's there's a Facebook group for everything, Parker, right? There's a mastermind. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you bring up a really good point, because one of the things I really believe in this type of format, and there's a lot of things that are called masterminds that are actually not masterminds.
Yes, exactly.
They're group coaching, or they're like a conference or some sort of event like that. Where I think one of the things that makes masterminds unique is the frequency of it and the connection. Like a mastermind is almost something that now, for me exists 24/7, 365, right? It's not like I show up to something once a week or once a month or once a year. This is a relationship where we're constantly sharing updates and wins and challenges and supporting each other. The financial component doesn't need to be part of a mastermind. Like, people can start their own masterminds, but the thing that the financial piece does, it creates like a filter for people. Like, are you serious or you're not serious? And also an intentionality of like, hey, no, I'm really coming here. The way that we think about it is like, what's a question that you would invest $10,000 to answer? What's a question that you spend $100,000 to answer? And most people don't even know what that question is. And so regardless if they have to pay it or not, like, how are they going to get that question answered? I don't think I'm actually answering your question. There's like, how do people find their mastermind? And I think it's almost like the same challenge of like, how do you find, your significant other, or how do you find like your friends? I think it starts by just following your nose, like following your points of interest. And I think that takes a certain level of self-awareness. Like, some people are really interested in, things that I'm not interested in, but that's okay. Like, that's where they should pursue, their interests or their passions and really figure out what lights them up. And then there's usually like circles within circles, within events. Yeah. And I think for me, life changed when I started leading with value, is learning to like lead with value. I was at a point in my life where I didn't need to sell anyone anything, and I was willing to make introductions or help people out without any expectation of anything in return. And that, I think, attracts people that also have value to give. And I would always nudge people to even start their own mastermind groups. And then there are some great mastermind organizations out there that I think are relevant to people when their problems are no longer Googleable. Like, I would always encourage people to be the type of person that can solve their own problem. And then at a certain point, it might be challenging to figure out what that problem is now. And or like, hey, I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. Something needs to change.
Right.
And usually when the student's ready, the teacher makes themselves available. And I think that's probably true for masterminds as well.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And I like that you talked about frequency too, because I think that's one of the challenges even I had, right? Like I'm always like invited to these masterminds, right? So then I'll go to the ones I trust, like to the person that I trust, their character, things like that. But I think one of the challenges is the frequency. There is none, right? And so I feel like they asked me a lot of questions. I gave them a lot of info. Oh my gosh, that's great. And then, so was this a brain picking thing, right? Which is fine too, but then let me know that, right? Don't tell me it's a mastermind and then I never get back onto another call or anything because I'm not going to do it this month. I'll do it next month. Oh, forget it. I'm not doing it next month. So it's like the frequency thing is important to me too. I think it brings value in that. And it's camaraderie. Right? Because now if you guys are frequent and you're doing this all the time, you trust each other. You can say things a little bit more blunt, a little bit more clear, and get to the root of it. Right. And I like that you said that not necessarily every mastermind has to have a financial component, but I do like the filtering of it. Right. Because what is that saying? Like if they pay attention. Right. So, and they show up, and that's true. I mean, how many free programs have everybody been to, signed up for, and never show up because it was free, right? So, I love that component of it. I love that you brought that up, because I think one of the challenges, like I said, is the noise in the world. There's just too much of it. Right. There's too much. And so I've been invited to so many Facebook groups that I don't even know if I don't even know how many I'm a part of at this point. It's too many. Right. So I don't even go on them. So what's the point? And I think that happens a lot with the masterminds too. I get asked to be on a lot of masterminds. But if you're not going to be frequent, I just feel like it's such a waste for me. So I like the frequency thing. Go ahead.
Well, I think it needs to be at least monthly. To really be a mastermind. Benjamin Franklin and his group met weekly. We kind of took the path from weekly to twice a month to once a month. And I think that's mostly because of just where we're at in life. And we start having married and kids, like it just, weekly can be very tough. And so we do a deep dive 4 hours once a month. And I found it really interesting when I worked at a Fortune 100 technology company, and I was in a finance role, and I saw that the CEO of the company paid $250,000 a year for his mastermind.
Wow.
So I think that this is like, it's one of those things that at a certain point in an entrepreneur or like a CEO or a leader, an executive's or a leader's journey, a mastermind becomes highly relevant to them.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, it's a 10x return, right? Like I'm pretty sure being part, it's a matter of leverage. And so I've heard a number of people that have been in the same mastermind group for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah. Well, it becomes friendship. Like I said, there's a camaraderie there and a deepness in friendship and also trust, right? Because a lot of these like CEOs and major companies or major leaders or, they have to be in a circle they can trust. They can't just, have information out there that they shouldn't have, or, say something that they're super challenged with that maybe someone who isn't at their level would understand. Right. So that can bring judgment and all kinds of things. Right. So I agree with that. I think that, we really need to be kind of looking out, being intentional and surrounding ourselves with people that have that same like-mindedness. I'm not saying groupthink, but like-minded. Does that make sense? Right?
It totally makes sense. And, we talked a little bit about my story where, I surrounded myself with people that were harmful to me. And I had my own role in it too, but those people, we called each other friends. And so I think it led me to really like question, like what is friendship and what role does that play in my life? And what, the word that I use now is peer. Like, I have a lot of respect and connection with my peers. And I probably do have some friends that are my peers as well, but it's a relationship that's built on respect and trust, and probably not the friendships that I experienced as a child or, as an early adult that I still don't fully understand.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think for all of you who are listening, who are entrepreneurs and leaders and stuff, also surround yourself with people that'll elevate you and push you and challenge you. Not yes men or whatever, just like people that really listen to what you have to say. I have to say this to you, Parker, before we close out is there's a few things I noticed about you that I really, really liked, right? So one of them in the beginning was that I feel like you're such an intentional human. And I really like that about you. But the second thing I really, really like is that you listen. Like, even when I said something, you paused, listened, and then you responded. Like, such good qualities. So I just wanted to tell you that because I was very evident when we were talking. So I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. That's really cool. So before I let you go, though, I do have a question. So you and your wife are over here chilling on every different country all over the world. Now, you said you were finding a home. Are you saying that you're like looking around and seeing what country and stuff you want to live at? Is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah, we're open to another country.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so fun. Where are you located now?
We're in Prague at the moment.
Nice. How is it?
It's an adult Disneyland.
I love that.
It's surreal.
Oh, good, good. All right. Well, I hope you guys find your dream home wherever you land. If it was me, I'd probably be on a beach somewhere with nothing but blue waters. That's Valley View. That would be my place. So.
We just left Croatia for a month, so we got some of that. And I might be going too deep into this, but what you said right before that around listening. I'd like to say that was just, embedded in me, but it wasn't. It's something that I learned. Mm-hmm. It's a learned skill, because I think for most of my life I wasn't listening, and it really prevented me from connecting with people. Yeah. And now my wife and I talk about this, is like, when people talk, like, people will tell you exactly what their intentions are. We just have to listen to them.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm really working on becoming a better listener, and I think that will be really valuable for our future children, yes, for the different areas of my life, not just on the business side too.
Oh, absolutely. I think your wife will really appreciate that as well. I think that's one of the things I love about my husband as well. Like, when I talk, he stops what he's doing. He just pays attention. It is such a blessing to have. And so I'm glad that you're working on that. I'm working on it too. And I've actually in the midst of taking a full course on emotional intelligence with listening, because I've done other emotional intelligence courses, but this one is intentional. It's just about listening. And because we have to listen, and you're right, people do tell you who they really are if you're paying attention. So you are such a joy. Thank you so much for being on the call with me from Prague, and having such a wonderful, rich conversation. I appreciate you so much, Parker. And I'd love for people to connect with you. So how can people maybe connect with you on, I don't know if you're on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, but your social media handles, can you give us that?
Yeah, Zachary Parker Harris is my social media, and I'm pretty active on there. And if anybody has any questions, on how personal development, business, anything, I love to support people that are on their journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on Straight Talk. I appreciate you. Thank you.
No sugar, Neena.
That's right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and Parker. Make sure that you follow him. I'm going to link all of his information below so that you know exactly where to find him. And like he said, if you have a question on all this kind of stuff and personal development and business and everything, just reach out to him and ask him a question. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. You are the best. Okay. I have the best podcasting community ever. I really do. And I appreciate you guys being on here. Make sure you go on to winject.com/register, WINJECT. ject.com/register and register for my free community, because I want to be really connected with you, and I want us to brainstorm and be with each other and connect in a deeper way. If you are looking for coaching, please make sure that you also email me at hello@straighttalknosugaradded.com. I work with women and I help them develop that business that they are envisioning in their hearts so that they can win. Thank you guys so much for being here. Love you, love you, love you. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.
It's easy to lose sleep when you're worried about your health insurance plan. But when you have a family counting on you to take care of them, having the right coverage is more important than ever. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is here to help. With low to no cost plans for you and your family, so you never go it alone. That's our Anthem. Click to learn more.
When it comes to transportation for your business, low-quality suppliers can leave you disappointed. Here at LCG Logistics, we can service all of your logistics needs. Servicing 48 states and Canada, at LCG Logistics, we pride ourselves on competitive prices, dedicated fleet service, and on-time delivery. We are small enough to care and large enough to do the job properly. Call us at 614-272-4052. LCG Logistics, your single-source transportation supplier.